Boom.
Okay, guys, thanks for joining us for part 5 of our Builders Workshop series. And this week we have a special guest, and as you can see, he's ready to build. He's got his builder's vest on, looking sharp as usual. He's one of the 3 models we have working here at Retirement Income Life, between Roderick Williams and Edwin Rivera and Rob Boyd. I don't know who wins the runway contest between those 3, but really blessed to have Rob Boyd on this week for sure. Just to give you an idea, Rob has recruited a lot of top people in this industry. He brought on Vic Rockhill, which is, he was a beast at our old IMO, and he continues to be a beast here with Retirement Income Life. He brought on Lester Mathis, same situation. He was a beast at the old IMO that we worked at, and now he comes here and he's on the leaderboard most weeks. And for the year, he's one of the top 10 or 15 for sure. And then, of course, he was able to land my wife, Janet Appel, which in turn brought me along for the ride as well. So when you get a guy that's able to bring in 4 top people like that inside of a 6 or 8 month period, it's really impressive, and it's worth trying to find out some information from him, what he did, how he did it, what is he doing. It's just something that we can all learn from for sure. But before we jump into finding out some of those tips and tricks, we want to get this kicked off by just rehashing what we went over the first few weeks. And for the most part, the first few weeks was a lot about determining when you're ready to build, how to go about becoming a builder, how to go about recruiting. And so today we're going to wrap up that part with a couple of questions, and then we're going to move into agent development. So, but before before we start talking to Rob about agent development and his tips and things that he does in that department, because he's great in that department as well, let's take a moment and find out about where Rob came from, how he got to be where he's at today. Let's just get a little bit of background. You think you know his journey, but we probably don't know the full journey that he's taken. So Rob, just take a few minutes and let's talk about a quick rundown on how you got to where you're at now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. And Appel, man, thank you so much for doing this builder series for 6 strong weeks. A lot of commitment, a lot of dedication. And for you guys that are jumping on every single week and committing to this, we see it. And we are going to reward you guys as we build. You are the foundation of Retirement Income Life. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Me, I'll just tell you a little bit about me, how I got started 5 years ago. I've been in the business about 5 years now. My wife, Amanda, had a guy named Jason Scott working for her at AT&T selling cell phones. And at the time, I was working at a call center selling DirecTV, cell phones, customer service over the phone. And I was selling 18 to 22 DirecTVs every single month. And, Jason went from selling 6 to 8. And she was like, man, this dude just left AT&T and he's making, $5K a week selling insurance. And you're out selling the crap out of him over the phone. It's much easier to sell in person, as you guys all know. Here I am selling triple over the phone, which is way more difficult. So she said, you need to try this out. Like, if this dude could do it, I promise you, you can. So my wife pushed me to do it, which ironically was under Rob and Jan. So they're the ones that actually brought me into the business. Thank God. Ended up leaving that IMO. I wanted to do more than just final expense. So I branched out. I learned mortgage protection in advanced markets. And I said, you know what? Let me reach out to the good people that I've ran across in this business, stay in contact, never burn bridges. That's something that all of you guys need to make sure that you don't do, is burn bridges. Stay in good communication, don't leave debt when you leave, and remain in contact with good people. Good people are hard to find. It doesn't matter what business you're in. Good people are hard to find, people that work hard. And Rob and Janet Appel, I mean, you guys see their work ethic, their grind, and what they're doing. They are very unique individuals. And so for me, even though that I wasn't with that specific organization, there's something that drew me to those two individuals. Their hard work ethic, they're good people, and they're likable human beings. And so I never wanted to burn that relationship. And here we are, circle back full circle. We've started Retirement Income Life together on this journey in a full partnership. And I can't be more happier with where we're at, all the people that are on this call, and the way that we're growing together, truly in partnership.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how things came full circle, right? Where I think that we were all destined to do this together for sure. I really do. Rob, we've been talking about recruiting for this is our 5th week now, and we've gotten different perspectives from Eric Salazar, Miles Lamery, Janet Appel, of course, my wife, and Gary Keith, right? And so we're going to want to get your perspective as well on some things. So how does a builder know, in your opinion, how does a builder know when they're ready to build?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think first and foremost, we need to establish what a builder is. And I would say a builder is a leader. So before you can build, you need to be able to lead others and obviously lead and control yourself and your own business, right? So you have to have a grasp of whatever lane in insurance it is that you want to do, whether it's final expense, mortgage protection, you want to write just IUL and annuities. It doesn't matter. Car insurance, home and auto, whatever, right? But before you can build, you need to establish yourself and really concrete yourself and build your own foundation before you can lead others to do anything. So I think number one, to become a builder, you need to master what you do. As far as when you should build, right? Again, it all goes back to, I can't lead anybody to water if I'm not even drinking water myself. So again, I would say make 6 figures in doing whatever lane of insurance that you decide that you want to bring others in on, or the other option is, if you're not the strongest producer, and that's okay, but you have other people that may take these tools, these resources at Retirement Income Life and do very well because you know their personality. We've all got people that are selling cars and doing all kinds of sales that we just know would absolutely crush this. You've got to have faith in your leadership. And so if you're completely bought in with the platform, the people around you and your leadership, I think it's a lot easier if you're not an all-star producer to bring people in just simply to this platform, because you know that if they jump in the car with any one of the partners that they're going to thrive. And so I think that's really important, is having a strong supporting cast of say, hey, number one, I know how to do this at a high level, or I'm going to put you in the car with somebody that's doing this at the highest level because I know that you could absolutely crush this. So that would be my time to start building if I was just getting started.
Yeah, you know what? So some really great points there. I'm a huge believer in you never turn away talent. If you have the opportunity to bring somebody on, but you don't feel you're ready, still get with your leader and let them know, and will help the agent figure it out. You never want to turn away talent just simply because it's just so hard to find it. It's incredibly hard to find it. So one thing that you've been really great at is having that initial conversation. And you've done such a great job, like I said, with recruiting some top people. What advice would you give an agent that is relatively new and he wants to, or he or she, I'm sorry, wants to build, but they come across a talented person, a stud, if you will, or a studette, and they're a little nervous about approaching that type of person and having that conversation? What kind of advice would you give that person?
I think it goes to the ability to lead by example. I think that is so key in what I did, and the way that I feel like I naturally have attracted people, good people around me that honestly I feel like are better than me. And I do feel like I have a knack for recruiting talent that actually is better than me. And so the key for me is, look, I can humble myself and say, look, I'm not the best at everything, but I'm going to find and put you in front of that person that is the best in this specific lane. And look, I'm humble enough to say that. So I think number one is looking in the mirror and saying, I'm never going to know everything about everything. So you want to surround yourself by good people that you believe in, that you have faith in putting other people underneath. So now I'm at the point where if I bring somebody in, they're going to go under somebody that I trust. Very rarely, unless there's somebody I went to high school with or from back home, that I put direct to me. It just doesn't happen very often. And so that would be the main thing, is the platform that we have, completely believing in it, attaching yourself to it, and then depending on the strengths around you to ultimately get to where we're all going to get to.
Yeah, that's some of what you said, I've been hearing for years in a different industry. So when I worked for Hendrick Automotive Group, Rick Hendrick, we would go to meetings 4 times a year, 3 to 4 times a year with Rick. And one thing he would always say, even in just casual conversation, is he's not the smartest guy in the room, but he is smart enough to know that he's not smart enough. Right. And so he surrounds himself with people that know more than him, that are better at certain things than he is. And, you had just mentioned that. I haven't heard that in a long time. And you just happened to bring it up. And it kind of just reminded me of those conversations where knowing what your limits are and surrounding yourself with people that are better at certain things than you are. I mean, that's really key, especially to be a leader. I kind of wish this was a leadership call in a way, and we could go over a lot of that stuff, but we got to set boundaries, of course. So can't go too far into that conversation. So we're going to move on into agent development. But before we do that, I want to see if anybody has any questions for you on or about recruiting builders or recruiting agents, that kind of thing. Anybody have any questions? Just unmute, jump in, and go ahead and ask. Come on, man. You got Rob Boyd on the phone.
You can type it in the chat too. That's fine.
Yeah, go ahead. Type in the chat and I'll read it out.
I have a question.
Hey.
That you rarely put people underneath you directly. So when you put them under the other person on your team, are they responsible for, training? Like, how do you let the other person know that someone else is on? Oh,
great question.
She was breaking up a little bit. Did you understand that, Ron?
I got it. Yeah.
Okay,
and that's a really good question. How do I determine who I'm going to put underneath who? And I guess when I know to do so. And
right. And how do you let that person know that you're going to put this new person on their team?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the partnerships that we've formed, they're all very capable of training and recruiting. So they hands down have already got it taken care of. So when I give them a new agent that's in their territory, or say somebody happens to reach out in Arkansas, right? And you've shown capability of putting somebody in the car and training them, and you're doing well yourself. And I can say, okay, hey, I've got this agent in such and such territory. I want to set you up with a 3-way conversation, and then we're going to get on the Zoom and we're going to all have a conversation together. And so basically I'm kind of like warm transferring or warm handing them off to the builder in that territory to actually put them in the car and train them to make money, because I can't be in all places at one time. That's why you cannot do this business alone. And you're going to realize that once you start building. You have to have people in different areas that you depend on so much, but it's hard to find people that you trust in this business that are going to take care of people. And that's the cool thing about the partnerships that we formed is, look, Rob Appel, Lester, Janet, all these people, they would literally take the shirt off their backs and give it to you if you needed it. Most of you guys on this call have had leads bought or given to you at some point of your career, right? So that's who we are, and that's the way we serve you guys, and that's how we want you guys to trickle that down, right, and pour into other people's cups as well. So I hope that answered your question, Jazz.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't know if this question is for, which Rob can answer this question, but, in our recruiting, we started from day one, and we've talked about on all the calls. Jasmine, I'm not sure when and if, you're ready to build, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, usually an agent is ready when they're making, they're making okay money, and they're able to manage that person, to buy them leads, to train them, and do all that, because it's not just hiring people and putting them under people where they're going to get a percentage, because they have to do work for that. So
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because it's really not for everyone, because you could get yourself snowballed and you'll be out of business.
I can start with that one, and then Appel, if you want to jump in with me. I think when you take on the risk of recruiting somebody, because it really is a risk. I mean, if you think about it, the agent's getting 100 to 100+% on most products. We may be getting a 10 to 15% override. And if you think about that, we're taking all of the risk for a very small margin. If the agent dips out and leaves you with all that debt, you're now responsible for all of it, right? So you've got to decide that, hey, if I'm going to build, can I handle 5, 10, 30, 40K of roll up? If that happens to me, am I willing to take that risk on? And so I think you as the builder need to understand that happens in this industry, right? So if you're not financially stable and you've got a bunch of money stacked away to buy leads, do all the things that you personally need to do, it's going to be very difficult to take on the burden or possible burden of roll up from somebody else's entire organization. And again, I'm just talking about one. You talk about a whole team worth of roll up, that could be a lot. So you just got to weigh that out. Appel, if you want to jump in and on that as well.
Yeah.
And then I have, before I forget this, I'm sorry, Rob, before I forget this, because I want this to be directed to Jasmine as well. When somebody comes on, if they see someone that's a good potential, like Jasmine and Benita both came on, if you see someone, you can still send them or hire them or ask us about them, and we can still, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, they can still get the production for that person, but we'll lead them like they're our people until they can take it over. Is that right?
Yeah. So
because we don't want to lose, we don't want them to not hire people because they're not ready, because somebody might want to come on that they're introduced to, and maybe we can try them under us and then move them later.
You're 100% right. And so I'm really glad that Jasmine asked that question, because it's multi-layered. So Rob Boyd is right. You need to make sure that you're ready for that kind of a commitment. You're going to take, if somebody, who is not invested in the industry leaves, and they've written some policies, you can expect to take about a $1,000 chargeback roll up to you. That's typically going to be about average. Okay. Policy or two is really all that is. And so you can end up getting hit with that. In my case, back in 2018, all the way through 2019, I had to pay back over $40,000 in debt from other agents. 3 other agents that ended up leaving. And it was difficult because they didn't just hit it with 1 or 2 carriers. They hit that with every single carrier, with the exception of Transamerica. So for a year, I was living on Transamerica only and Mutual, although Mutual was only giving me 25% of whatever commissions I was due, because the rest was going towards the debt. And it took a solid year to get that all paid off. And it crushed us financially, but we got through it. When that did happen, it would have been easy for me to say, I'm out, I quit. This is BS. I'm not doing this. And I could have walked away. However, I'm not going to do that because I didn't want to do that to the people that were trusting me, my uplines, my leaders. I didn't want to do that to them. And that's just not who I am. I'm not going to quit from something I believe in. It's money. And while you might be thinking, oh my gosh, $40,000, that's a lot of money. I've heard of even more with people. Okay. But that's your tuition. If you're stupid enough, as I was, to ignore flags, red flags, and to not track debt, yes, I wasn't taught to do it, but it is still my fault because it was the results of me failing to do a job. So it's ultimately my responsibility. Nobody else can take blame on that. It's my own fault, and I accept it, and I dealt with it. And so coming through that, I'm able to teach other people how to avoid that. Can I control all that? No. Listen, some is going to slip by. I'm telling you, but I can keep it to a minimum for the most part. I have not gotten hammered with debt since then because I learned a lot, and I am all over it at this point. So just keep in mind that there are risks, like Rob spoke about, but the rewards are greater. Because if you're doing a great job as a leader and you're doing and you're following the right people that are leaders, you're going to learn a lot of things that are going to protect you. And you're going to learn about the different processes that they use to avoid the pitfalls that befall a lot of other leaders or builders in the industry. So by us being such a close family, we end up caring a lot about each other. We don't want each other to go through that kind of thing. So we work to try to avoid it and to try to be proactive. So let's say somebody has a $1,500 debt or whatever it is, we're on it. And we're like, okay, let's call and get a payment plan going. Let's go, let's get this done. So you need to make sure that when you're ready, you get with your leader and have the conversation on what hiring process would look like, what a debt resolution process is going to look like, things like that. And I think you'll be better off. Now, if you're brand new, let's say, and you've only been doing this for a year or so, and you're not ready to build and you feel you're not ready to build, but you come across a talented individual, get with your upline because they can put that individual direct to them until you're ready. And you'll still get credit for the production so you can get promotions. So there's a benefit to you there. Okay, I hope that made sense to everybody. Next, there is another question, Rob. This one's from Taiwan. What are some of the signs that turn you away from an agent?
Yeah, another good question. You guys are on fire tonight. For me, it's almost like a new agent, right? You really have to take a chance on them. There's not too much that you can turn away as far as a new agent with no debt. Now, when other agents come to us from other organizations with debt, I would say those are some red flags that would turn me away from an agent. If an agent comes to us and says, hey, I didn't make it over here, I didn't make it over there, and they're blaming, it was the leads, it was my mentor, it was everybody else, but they wouldn't blame themselves and their work ethic, that's a red flag for me. This business, I don't care if I was at a 60% and I only had one product to sell, I would still make it. I started off at 65%. I worked really, really old leads and I made it happen, right? I made a lot of money doing it that way. Now, again, I'm not going to blame anybody else. And that's why that's a red flag for me. I'm going to make it wherever I go. It doesn't matter where you put me at on this earth. I'm going to make it happen. And so those are the individuals that I look for as far as that have that same mentality. I don't want somebody that's blame other people because of what they did or didn't do.
You know, Rob Boyd is telling you the truth there because his first week, he wrote 6,000. His first week out on his own. Now, that's extreme for a new agent. That not every agent's going to do that. But his first month, he did 16,000 of net issue. His second month, he did slightly more than that. And the reason I know that is because I saw the numbers. I was the leader. So I know the numbers. And to this day, for a new agent, he still holds the record for a new agent's production, which is incredible. But that tells you he is 100% accurate when he says you could give him Trans-America and make him do paper apps, and he'd still be successful at 65%. So he did work really old leads. They were brutal. They make these 10-year-old leads look like gold. They were really bad because those leads, people went to them probably about 20 times before Rob Boyd got there. That's how bad they were.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Those are some really great questions, and I agree with you on that question, Rob, entirely. You know, regarding signs that would take you away from an agent. Now listen, some people need that second chance.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, there are people out there that they just initially signed up with the wrong IMO, but nobody signs up with the wrong 4 IMOs.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy or girl that you're staying away from, really. It's not worth it. And that's another thing when Jen had asked that other question earlier. You don't want to hire everybody. Now, nobody's going to get 5 or 10 in a row that are just absolute all-stars or good, solid, ethical people. And so you should be turning away a bunch of people out of those 10, because what you're looking for are people that you can trust, that you know have something to lose if they do fail. You want a guy with a car payment and a mortgage. Ideally, you really want that person, and a wife who's on board, or a partner who's on board, because that person is not going to let his why or his family down, or her family or her why. So just keep in mind that you know, you shouldn't be looking to hire everybody. Next thing, Rob, let's just keep moving on. Unless somebody else has a question, we're gonna keep moving on. So we're gonna move into development. Is somebody unmuted? No, everybody's muted. Okay, let's move into agent development. What will a new builder need to bring to the table to assist his new agents that he brings in?
Yeah, it's probably the biggest question that I get when new agents speak to me for the first time on, hey, what do you offer that's different from everybody else? Like what's the biggest difference between you guys? And if you guys want to write this down, this is like my secret sauce. I literally focus on 4 things when I speak to people on retirement income life's value. And I'm literally building a PowerPoint on these 4 things to give to you guys to recruit other people on, just to really simplify our recruiting process on 4 things that we do extremely well. So those 4 would be: number 1, compensation; number 2, carriers, our carrier selection; 3, leads; and 4, training and support. And one of those 4 things are typically somebody's hot button, right? They're not reaching out to you if they're getting all 4 of those things. They're either not making enough money with their commission, they don't have enough carriers, they could be captive. The leads that they get are just really old. They're tired of internet leads. There's several IMOs that only sell internet leads now that have been sold many, many times, right? And they're tired of that. And they want to get fresh mailers. And then the training and support. They can't get their upline over the phone. They never do in-person training. They can't get anybody in the car to actually teach them how to make money. And so if you get really good at dissecting these 4 things that we're really freaking good at, and then we do all 4 of those, not just 1 out of those 4 or 2 out of those 4, we literally do all 4 of those things together. And in my opinion, you put the heart and soul behind RIL with those 4 things, I don't see anybody that can touch us with our value proposition. I really don't. And you guys correct me if I'm wrong. If you've seen it otherwise, I have not. And I talk to people from other organizations all the time, from every single place that you can absolutely think of. There's nobody that has everything that we do that actually freaking cares about you guys. And I can promise you that. And I'm speaking from the heart there.
Yeah, that is so true. I had mentioned on an earlier call that we have probably done 100 Zoom presentations, some of them with you guys right in front of us right here. And the two biggest issues that that agents who are struggling elsewhere have are usually leads is number one, and training is number two. And you could flip flop those, but those are the two big ones. Many times they're not even that concerned about compensation as long as they can get the training and support that they need and good quality leads. And you might think that, and I think maybe we're a little spoiled, Rob. We have access to brand new leads. Everybody on here can get brand new, fresh leads. Okay. I sold 4 this week out of the 10, and it's Thursday. And quite honestly, the only reason I sold 4 is because I'm so busy with other things. I can't get into the field long enough to get to the other houses. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I probably would have sold 7 so far. I should get another 2 or 3 tomorrow, though. Yeah, the compensation is not as big of a deal that some of you may think it is when it comes to new agents. Their biggest hot buttons are typically going to be training, support, and leads. So,
yeah. Well, let me kind of elaborate on each one of those 4, just because they're very important. Each one of them alone could help you recruit somebody. So you're gonna talk to people of all walks of life, from all types of different IMOs, and compensation could be their hot button. The carrier selection could be their hot button. The leads could be the hot button, or the training and support. So let me just kind of dissect each one of these. So if you get somebody that has compensation issues, right? One of the biggest comparison that we get is there's another IMO out there, 3-letter IMO, and their 100% is only on 1 or 2 products. It could be Americo's HMS, or it could be their Eagle Premier or their Term Life Express. So 100% is 85 on core carriers like Living Promise or Liberty Bankers. So you've got to be careful with other people's commission grids. When they tell you you're at 100, well, what are you truly at? Are you at 100 on the carriers that are the products that you actually write? That is a big question that you should be asking. What are you at 100% on? Do you have your commission grid? A lot of people say, oh, I don't know. They just told me I was at 100%. Okay, well, let's go get their carrier, their breakdown on what you actually get paid. Oh man, 100%. You're actually at an 85%. Our core 85 is what you're actually at, right? So our core 100 would actually give you a 15% raise all the way across the board. So definitely learn the compensation. Next, carriers. This is probably one of my favorite ones because we literally can cover anybody, any type of health criteria. Baltimore Life's new product literally covers COPD preferred rates. You can get blood thinners through. You can get all sorts of things through with our carrier lineup. With the Protection Plus product, they go up to 50,000 on a freaking 18-year-old. Doesn't matter what they got going on. So the young and unhealthy people, we have a solution there. We literally have a solution for every specific scenario. That's going to speak to those people that are writing just one carrier, like a Primerica or a Senior Life or whomever, right? That may only have one product to offer. It's going to be easy to say, hey, wouldn't you rather offer everything and truly service your client to the best of your ability? Or do you want to be stuck pushing one product that's probably higher than everything else out there? And then let them answer. They're going to be like, oh man, I'm actually stuck selling one product. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense the way this dude's breaking it down to me. You're telling me I can literally get every product top commission and do the best thing in every single home? What? That's possible? So that's the next thing. Leads. You know, this is a sore subject for a lot of people, especially myself coming from where I came from. I worked dental, vision, and hearing leads. You know, I was out there talking about health insurance or health benefits, and I didn't have my health license, which is completely illegal. So to have leads that actually mention life insurance, and you're going out there talking about life insurance, you're not hiding behind a false narrative hey, I'm a benefits coordinator, I'm something else. Hey, I'm a life insurance expert. I'm going to help you with your life insurance. It says it right here on this paper, life insurance, life insurance, life insurance. You move on with your business and you're on to the next one. I'm not ashamed of what I do. I love what I do, and I'm going to find you the best rate. I can promise you that. And I'm going to know before I leave this house what carrier I'm going to go with. Lastly is training and support. So number one, we're the only IMO that I know out there that pays the $40 a month for the FEX or the insurance toolkit. I don't know anybody else doing that. So that's number one. We give you guys the FEX quote calculators that we pay the $20 a month for as well. We have a group chat. We have like 5 or 6 different calls that we run every single week. You may say that's overkill, and that's fine. You don't have to be on all of them, but guess what? Having them available for you is only going to make you better. You can decide how good you want to get. That's completely up to you. But you're not going to tell me that, hey, man, you guys didn't offer, or you guys didn't provide me the training that I need. I promise you, you're never going to come and tell me that. We got so many calls that you can go out there and get good at. So those are the 4 things. I would break it down. Whatever their pain point is, get good at explaining all 4 of those. If you want to write it down again, it's compensation, carriers, leads, training, and support.
Yeah, it's great that you went over that in detail, just so they have a clear understanding of it. Talking about the training, when we bring people on, we make sure it's clear from day one of what calls they're expected to be on. And there's only 3 of them that we're telling people we expect you to be on these. It's Monday morning with Rob Boyd at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's Monday evening with Gary Keith at 7:30 Eastern. Now, Gary Keith, man, me and Boyd talk about him all the time. His call is serious. And if you want to really get better, you need to be on those Monday calls, including Gary Keats. And then, of course, you have my call on Thursdays at 9 a.m. The training that we give on those 3 calls are critical. And quite honestly, if you bring on an agent and they're not participating on the WhatsApp, they're not participating on those calls, they're not jumping on, that might be because you failed to set those expectations with that agent. If you did set those expectations and they're still not jumping on, well, then you need to have a conversation. And in 7 years of doing this, I have never seen anyone succeed without participating on morning training calls. Never, not one time, not one time. And I don't know, we probably recruited a few hundred agents over those years, 500 probably. I don't know. Yeah, that's probably be around there. Not one of them were successful. Meanwhile, the ones that are on those calls and they are listening, actively listening, you can expect that person to be getting better and better. The ones that aren't on, you can identify them pretty quick. They're going to spin their wheels. They're not going to advance. They're going to be constantly struggling, and they're going to be making excuses. And they're going to tell you that they don't get training, like Rob had said. And when somebody says that, you know, it's full of, you know what.
Yeah.
So,
I want to hop in there real quick, Appel. Expectations are so big for me personally, just because I'm very transparent. I've been doing this long enough now to where if you play with my time, it's personal, right? Because I can't get my time back. And so if you set expectations, and look, a lot of people don't like to be confrontational, but when it comes to your time, you have to stand up for yourself, okay? So if you set expectations right off the get-go of, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you, right? I'm going to do my part. I'm making this statement to you. I'm going to fulfill this expectation. This is what you can expect from me. Now, this is what I expect from you, or you're no longer going to get me, right? So if you establish that solid ground right off the get-go, then it's very clear. There's no gray area, and nobody can be mad at each other if the expectations are given. The problem is when we think that they're reading our mind, but then we want to get mad at them for not doing what we think that they should be doing, right? But they're new to this business. That's when things get misconstrued. So just be very clear, be patient, set expectations right off the get-go, and I promise you it's going to help you grow your organization.
Yeah, exactly right. Those expectations are so important. That was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you, Rob. What are some of the expectations you would suggest a new builder require of a new agent? Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, or you think you nailed it?
That's pretty much it. Again, just being transparent and upfront. I think the other thing is we do a very good job of being transparent at our organization. We don't tell you you're going to be at one commission and then put you on a different one. We don't tell you we're going to train you and then we don't have any calls for you to jump on and we go ghost on you. The other thing with the expectations piece is just doing what you say that you're going to do, right? If you set that expectation, be true to your word, because you're not only representing yourself, but you're representing an organization that leads from the heart and leads from the front. And if you're missing that piece where you're leading from the front, or you're not holding up on your end of the bargaining and expectations, it makes retirement income life look bad, because we've got a builder that's not doing what they say they're going to do. And then that person's going to leave and blast you, number one, and the organization and all these Facebook groups about this, that, or the third. And so now you're not only misrepresenting yourself, but you're misrepresenting a lot of good people that have worked so hard to build this name up the right way, right? We do business the right way. So keep that into consideration as well with the expectation piece.
Yeah, great points. When let's talk about, let's continue talking about developing a new agent. In your opinion, what are some of the key ingredients for a new builder to develop a new agent?
Yeah, I would say build your foundation. It would be a key one for me. I think number one, when you hire somebody or when somebody comes over from another organization, it's one thing to where if they failed in final expense because they were trained the wrong way, that's one thing. But let's be real. A lot of people come to us from other organizations because they're burnt out on final expense. They're tired of knocking on doors. So it really depends on the person. If that's the case, I may try to shift them if they're polished enough and say, hey, you know what? Why haven't we tried mortgage protection? It's not a hard sell. It's cleaner business. These people just bought a home or refinanced. They got good credit. They're working class people. The chargebacks are way less and the premiums are higher. Why have we not shifted markets? Why have we not got into our warm market with advanced markets and selling IULs and tax advantage retirement plans to people that we know and care about? If you truly care about them, we'll help them. Guys, anybody with a 401k took a beating last year, 22 to 26% of everything that they've worked their entire life for. They literally lost it all. Boom, 1 year. And that's because you weren't out there telling them what you do about how you safety net and secure assets. You're an insurance agent. You secure things. You insure stuff. You insure retirement accounts to make sure they don't lose a penny. It is impossible to lose a penny with me. That's my promise to you. Let me show you what that looks like on paper. And so I would just find whatever lane, build your foundation, whatever lane that you want to get in, whether it's final expense. We all need that final expense, that fast money. It needs to be clean business. I think the other thing, just to kind of piggyback off of the industry of final expense, is having a higher commission. Like, look, back when I started at 65%. So I may have pushed some sales that I shouldn't have pushed because I needed the money. I wasn't making that much, right? I made 65%. But now, because we start people at much higher contracts, you don't have to push that sale or push that person into a policy that you know is going to charge back just so that you can get a loan from the insurance company to pay a bill. I think that's the other thing that we need to take into consideration here as well with the platform. So if they failed at final expense in the past, they can come over here on our final expense platform where everything, in my opinion, is better, and actually thrive in this environment, and then add on a mortgage protection on top of that and then grow from there.
Yeah. I agree 100% on that for sure. We have to make sure that we're cross-training, basically, is what it is, and making sure we have the right fit for the right agent. So if and there are a couple people that I have to talk about or talk to about maybe focusing a little bit more on mortgage protection. Me and you had actually talked about that the other day. So, so Rob, when we bring new agents on, if it's logistically possible, we're going to do 3 ride-alongs, and we have a system for those 3 ride-alongs. The first ride-along will be, the agent watching and learning, with some interaction with the client. The biggest part of that first ride-along is typically going to be those conversations, those one-on-one conversations that we have in the car, just teaching moments, which from what I've seen over the last several years, they're just so important. But the second ride along will consist of the new agent doing all of the approaches, as they're expected to know the approach by the second ride along. And then by the third ride along, they're doing the approaches and the presentations. But with the presentation, sometimes they're going to need a little bit of assistance, but we want them to be in the deep end and start swimming.
Yep, absolutely.
If after we set them free and put them on their own, we give them some leads, and if they're still struggling in a week or so, we'll put them back in the car, and find out what they're struggling with. In a perfect world, what would your system look like for training a new agent that's close enough to go on a ride along?
Yeah, it's a great question. For me, I show them a mixture of leads if I can, right? If I can schedule appointments, I want to show them what scheduled appointments looks like. And I want to show them what just straight up knocking looks like, so they can kind of see the beauty of, hey, this is what it looks like if you work a little bit harder, you learn our scripts and you schedule the appointments. And then, hey, I'm going to teach you to go out and grind and make something out of nothing. So let's break that down. So we'll start with one of 3 ride-alongs. The first one, especially if I'm spending $39 on this lead, they're going to watch me, right? I'm not going to let this lead go to waste, right? So they're going to observe me on day 1. And I want them to pick up everything that I'm doing. I'll probably get them to do some of the filling out of the application. I may get them to start inserting things in the e-application. And then in between, what I did with Kenyon, it wasn't in between. Before we went out at all, I sat with him in front of my desk, and I said, hey man, we're going to work on your presentation. Here's the black binder. I'm going to spit out my presentation, and then I want you to spit it out back. Here's my door approach. I want you to spit it out back. Now let's go out and work. We got an appointment. And so he watched me the first time. He kind of picked up where I went over it already at the office. Now he's seeing it in action in front of somebody, and he's like, dang, that actually works. Okay, now my confidence is up. Day 2, now he's going to start doing some approaches with some of the older leads. And then once he gets inside, I'm going to let him give his presentation. He's going to mess up, and he did, right? And when he gets to the point where banking or why do you need my social, then I'll step in, overcome the objection pieces, right? That may be where he's not completely ready to handle the objection pieces. So I'll help with objections, let him continue the application, get through it. We do it over and over again. On day 3, they're expected to do it all. They're expected to do the approach. And then now I'm going to let them fill out the entire application and handle objections on that day 3 so that they can do it all. So, and Roderick did the same thing when he came down here to Florida. We did the same thing. We sat down, we got the presentation right. I said, spit it back out to me. Day 1, they watched me. Day 2, they actually went out and did it themselves. So I do the same thing every single time.
Yep. Certainly great advice, great tips from somebody who's had a lot of success in training people. So I hope you guys are writing this down. If not, it is being recorded and it'll be posted to the video library on mylifetraining.biz. Eventually, a lot of these videos are going to be also over on the agent portal that we're working on. Hopefully we have that done in the next few weeks. So let's just, first off, does anybody have any question for Rob before we start wrapping this up? We got one more question for him. That I'm going to ask, but do you guys have any questions that you want to ask them? Don't be shy now. Come on, this is family.
Raj, hop on with me real quick. I just want to talk about, if you're free right now, I want to talk about when you came down to Florida. I don't know if Kevin Hartley's on this call either because they came down together and trained. But Raj, just walk me through literally what we did, how we did it, and maybe some things that helped you as a struggling agent, maybe that maybe kickstarted your success as of late. That stuck out to you.
Okay, yeah. First, we came down. We went to the office. Let me see. We went over the presentation. Same thing you did with Kenyon. You made me and Kevin first presented the way that we presented ours, and then you showed us, okay, the way that you do it, and we took nuggets from that, and we spit it back out to you, until we got it perfected. And after that, you gave us a bunch of leads, like some old mailers, and we called, me and Kevin, actually, we set some appointments. Even had a competition and who could set the first one. So we set appointments, then we went out in the field to the appointments. And after the appointments, we went door knocking. We went to this neighborhood, and you said, here you go, fellas, like, see what you can make work. So we door knocked different doors. Worked on approach to different individuals. Let me see. I guess being in front of you, it helped me. I guess sharpen up on my presentation. When I'm by myself, in the beginning stages, I was a little shy, or one of my weaknesses was getting on the phone and dialing. But when you put those stack of leads in my face, and I was like, in my mind, I said, well, I don't have a choice. I have to call. So, practicing calling and going over the script, it helped me out. I wish Kevin was up here also so he could talk, but yeah, it really helped me out following the script and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say for those of you looking to build, because that's ultimately what this call is for you guys to pick up things that you're looking for and the people that you're building with. Make them get uncomfortable, like with Raj, right? I did different tactics and I did different things to basically make him show me his weaknesses. And when I found his weaknesses, then I said, okay, now I can focus on this weakness so I can help Raj, because now that weakness no longer exists. But if you're not doing all of these things, whether it's the approach, Raj said that calling that stack of leads was his nemesis. But you know what? He overcame that. Rob Appel says it beautifully. If you're scared of knocking on doors, go knock an apartment complex. That will get it out of you. That's what me and Kenyon did. I found that was his weakness. His weakness was getting in front of people because he was scared of objections and failure. And so that's what he did. He went and knocked on doors and he got really freaking good at it. And guess what? He got in the house. He got all the way through the presentation. I had to step in and do one little objection, but he closed that deal by himself. And now he's got that confidence to know, hey, I've already done this. So I know that I can do it again because I've done it before. And so that's what you want to look at, guys, when you're building. You want to observe and you want to pick out little weaknesses so that you can strengthen those and get rid of them.
Yeah, you know what? That was actually a great time that you had with those two down in Fort Myers, and doing the same thing with Kenyon. It's something that's going to really help these guys take it to the next level. So certainly appreciate you taking the time to do that. That's pretty key. And guys, here's the thing. Keep in mind that, let's say, like I have a couple of agents that we're working on in South Florida. Rob Boyd's they're gonna drive to Rob Boyd. They're gonna drive to Fort Myers, and he's gonna train them. Remember I came down, we had 3 agents come over from Miami area, and we were training them. So if you haven't had the pleasure of training down there at home office with Rob down at beautiful Fort Myers, you need to get your butt down there, schedule something, get down there, get some training, man. It'll be phenomenal training, but even more so, it's just paradise. You're training in paradise for a couple of days. You really are. So Rob, last question I wanted to touch on, and then we're gonna come back and see if anybody else has any questions. What are the tools that you feel a new builder needs to make sure their agents all have?
For me, I think really leaning on your support system. And guys, that is more than just that's more than just your insurance family, right? Your support system could be your barber, the person that's massaging you, the people that you play ball with, the people, your personal trainer. Your support system could be your preacher. There's a lot of people that affect your mental, that make you great in the field every single day. So as far as building and you being your very best, you really want to focus on yourself and make sure you're the best version of you before you push that energy on other people, to help them develop not only themselves but their business. Like if you're not doing well, like health wise, you're not feeling well, you're not in a good mental space, you number one aren't going to perform well, you're not going to produce, and then the people around you, whether it's your team, the people in the houses that you're sitting with, that's negative energy that's going to be distributed to them, and they don't deserve it. I can promise you they don't deserve it. So I would say put yourself in check before you go out and do what you do great every single day.
Yeah, totally agree on that. I would say as a leader, a new leader, just to add on to that, you need to start sharpening your skills with leadership. And me and Boyd, we're going to come back to this, not really a series, a builder series, but in about 6 months, we want to come back and we want to touch base and just see how this series may have helped you. And if you're a builder or if you're not a builder, regardless, you've probably picked up some tips that are going to help you out in the field on a daily basis. Of course, it's focused on builders, but I think, going through this first 5 weeks, there have been things on here, whether you learned it from Eric Salazar or Miles Lamry, myself, Janet, Gary Keith, or Rob Boyd. I think that there have been some things that helped you, for sure. So one thing I will throw in there.
Can you tell them about the activity sheet for new people? That's really important.
All right, they just all heard you.
Well, that's
So you
okay.
guys all heard that.
That's okay.
The activity sheet that I think, Rob, you have on the website, the joinral.com. It's there for everybody it's on joinral.com. Is that correct?
Yes. I'll put it in the team chat tonight as well. But yeah, the activity tracker, that's another cool tool that we give you guys just to really monitor your ROI, to really find out if you're profiting. Every single week, you can literally put how many leads you're buying, how many you're working, how many you got over the phone, how many were not available, how many disconnected numbers, how many did you actually knock? Out of those knocks and the time that you produced all week, how many appointments did you actually get through? How many apps did you sell? How much AP? So it's a really cool tracker that we put together for you guys to really just monitor to see if this business is even worth it for you, right? Or if you're profitable.
Yeah, you know what? The word tracker may upset you. It may irritate you, but it's a tracker for you to track yourself. It's not for us to track you because we don't have time to sit there tracking you individually. Now, if you come to us, if you come to me or Rob or Jan and you say, hey, listen, I need help. I want you to hold me accountable. I'm going to send you my activity tracker at the end of each week. Deal. We're going to do that for you. We'll make time to do that. But we're not just going to do it on a whim and just track you. That's just not what we do. And quite frankly, unless you're bought into it, it's not going to make sense for us to do it either. So, that word tracker can scare people because there are IMOs. I don't want to say IMOs. There's carriers, a specific one, American Life, and they use tracking devices on their agents. And if you're in a house too long, they get mad at you and they call you on the phone. Why are you in the house that long? That's not what we're about. Okay. You're a big boy, you're a big girl. This is big time. And you're able to handle that yourself. But if you want help, just keep in mind, we're always here for you. So let me just run down and see. All right, great. So Rob,
Yeah, so sorry I asked you that question downstairs. I just wanted to reiterate, with the new agents, with the tracking, just to track their progress. And also about the ride-alongs, I mean, we're all about putting you in the car with us. I had an agent twice in my car this week. Back years ago, when we hired a lot of people in North Carolina, we always had people in our car. But now most of our agents are out of state. So of course, whenever we can get there, or if they're in Florida, they could see Rob Boyd. If they're in the field and they're struggling, we can make arrangements to try to see you somehow, depending on where you are and who your upline is. So, if you're struggling with that, you just have to reach out to your upline.
so that it really is a great thing. Using your upline, using your leader. I like using leader better than upline. I guess we're just programmed to say upline, me and Jan for the most part. I think Boyd too. But I want to introduce everybody to TJ Petty. I think he's still on. And the reason I want to introduce him is because he comes from an IMO that we all worked at. A lot of us did. Melvin, myself, Lester, Ken Bond, Boyd, a bunch of us. And he is familiar with the activity tracker that we had used over there. And he posted on the chat that the tracker keeps you accountable and is a tool to help you succeed. That statement tells me the story of somebody who's very open-minded and doesn't have an ego where they're too concerned about tracking what they do, and they're all about whatever it takes to succeed. And that is the exact type of person that you want on your team. You want a guy or girl that's a team player, that's selfless, but has an ego. But that ego is fine. I mean, you don't have to have it, but if your ego falls under a team type of umbrella, and that ego is all about winning for the team, it's invaluable. It really is, because that person is a leader. That person is hungry. That person wants to win. And as long as it falls under that team type of umbrella, okay, once it becomes an individual type of ego, that's a different story. But ego under a team umbrella is certainly something incredibly valuable. So great comment there, TJ. Boyd, Trevor has a question. When recruiting someone from a different field, how do you get them to commit to changing industries?
Yeah, that's such a good question, especially
question.
If they're doing well at that field. And I think Appel could actually speak on this, because I know he was making 6 figures at his other profession with Hendrick Automotive. So he's actually probably going to have a better answer, but I'll give you mine. I think there's 2 parts to this. I think the first one is seeing is believing. So, obviously once you get in, you get your feet wet, you're actually making some sales and you're seeing the money hit your bank account and how fast it's hitting your bank account. I think that's a huge indicator that, hey, this is real. Everything that these people are telling me is absolutely accurate of everything that you were told. The other thing is the people that are popping off in the team chat every day, making money, making sales, lets you know that the leads work, the system works, and this is all real. Lastly, the other way is how to get them to commit to changing industries is, if you're put in a position to where your back is against the wall, and that may not be the case for most people, but for me, my back was against the wall. I had just left AT&T and I didn't have a job for like 3 weeks. So, luckily I had a few months saved up in my savings account, but there was no plan B for me. I literally had 3 weeks to get my insurance license so that I can go out and start making money. I was too proud to get on unemployment and all of those things. So I went out, I got my insurance license, and there wasn't a plan B. There wasn't me putting in job applications. That's how confident I was in getting this done and getting rolling in this. I didn't put in any job applications. I said, I'm about to get my insurance license. And if this dude is doing everything that Amanda said that he's doing, and he was, right? then I know that I'm gonna have this confidence and this faith in myself, and I'm being led to do this, or it wouldn't have happened. And I'm gonna go out there and make this happen. And I've never turned back. And so I think that faith and that confidence, and that everything happens for a reason. And I've seen this, it's real, it's happening to me as we speak. I see the good things. I see this place growing. I see everything. I see the heart behind this thing. It's really hard not to be successful in this environment if you truly commit and dedicate and go all in with a platform like this.
Yeah. You know, I think that everybody's going to have, you can ask 10 different people this question and you'll get 10 different answers, because a lot of it will come from experience, you know, their personal experience. Rob Boyd changed industries. You just did, right? I've changed industries. And when I say changed industries, I did it 3 times since I was 35. I changed complete careers. I went from being an auto mechanic to going into construction and starting my own construction business. I did that for 10 years until the market crashed, or 8 years until the market crashed. And then I went into car sales and everybody laughed at me. I was told I was crazy, I was stupid, I was nuts. You can ask my wife. But one thing I am is, and if this person that you're coming across is like me, they're a risk taker. And I'll tell you why that's going to matter. But I changed careers in 2009 and I go into car sales. And I wasn't worried about it. I hated it the first week or two. But then I fell in love with it. And it was just such a great time. It was like a car party every day. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. As 8 years later, it got kind of stressful. Seven years later, it got very stressful. And, but I still loved doing what I was doing. But the reason that I jumped from and changed careers again into insurance, and the story of how I got here doesn't really matter at this point, but I felt captivated. I felt that I couldn't grow anymore, that I reached the pinnacle of where I was going to be and I would die in that position. And when you look at something that way, it scares the heck out of you. I don't want to be that guy sitting behind a desk in a finance office in a car dealership that died. And there were people that in my tenure there, not people in my building, but people in Raleigh at other dealerships that passed away. One worked till 9 o'clock at night. They found him in the parking lot like an hour later, dead. He was a finance guy. It's a very stressful position. I didn't find it very stressful, but it was, you know, I could see how people can get stressed out by it. So why did I leave a $150,000 a year job with awesome benefits, lots of spiffs? When I go to meetings, I'm getting about $500 worth of gifts. Like you get a big swag bag. You're treated like Elvis. You're treated like, you know, Tim Duncan or one of the best basketball players, Michael Jordan. You're treated like a superstar. Okay. And that's why when we do our things, man, I want to make sure that you guys get a treatment like that. And eventually we'll get you, maybe we'll get to that point where we're able to do it the way we want to. But the reason I did leave is because I have an insatiable hunger for success. And I don't mind taking risks. I don't even care about them. So I walked into my job and I quit my job on December 1st. Why did I just quit my job? I was done. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was over it. I was one of the best in the industry at it. I was over it. And it was time for something new. Yeah, I quit 3 weeks before Christmas. Yeah, I did that. I didn't tell Jan either. I just did it. Okay. And I wasn't even afraid to have the conversation because I was able to do that because I knew I wouldn't fail. There is nothing that will make me fail. And I've proved it by overcoming $40,000 in debt in 1 year and still made over 100 grand that year. Mm-hmm. And I overcame 40,000 in debt in 1 year. Okay. So if you're looking at somebody who is thinking about coming from another industry, you have to try to understand and be in their shoes. Are they a risk taker? Number one. Why are they unhappy? Are they successful where they're at? If they are, and they're looking elsewhere, that tells you that this person may feel capped. He may feel, or she may feel, that they cannot go any further. And they hunger for an opportunity. They want the ability to grow and create their own wealth. And these types of people are people that believe in themselves. They are not afraid of failure because they know they won't fail. That is just not an option for them. And Jan had actually asked me, are you crazy? Was the first thing she asked me. But the second thing, what are we going to do? How are we going to make money? And I just told her, listen, I don't care if I have to sit in front of 1,000 people a week. I will be in front of 1,000 people a week if I have to be able to make sure we pay our bills. And listen, I sold 9 apps that first month. I was terrible. I gotta tell you, I was no Rob Boyd that first month, but I thought I was. I had the swag. I had that confidence. And then sure enough, that second month, I did 18 apps. That third month, I did 30 apps. The fourth month and beyond was 40 plus apps. And so I got it. I gave it time. I went through the struggles and I grew. But the main reason that I left a big time job like that, which most people would not leave, people don't typically leave those jobs, was because I felt I was a caged animal. I was capped. I can't go any further. And I was hungry and I wanted to grow. Now, when I came here, I told Rob Boyd, during the first training in the spring of the following year, 2021, he had me do some training in Fort Myers at a beach house. I didn't get to write the training, and it was brutal. I'm telling you guys, it was a shameful embarrassment. I was pissed. I was very pissed. And Rob did something for me that I appreciate to this day. He took the training wheels off. He let me be me and do my thing. And it let me be as creative as I wanted to. And I nailed that training in that spring. And I'll tell you, I nailed it because I know I nailed it.
You did.
I'm not egotistical. I know I did. Right. And Lee Mowry and not Lee, Mike Pasalia and Eric Salazar. What did they say to you?
Amazing training. They said that guy's a real deal.
Yeah. And you know what? That feels good to hear that from somebody with that kind of, background. But here's the thing. The guy that got me into insurance, he worked for me at the dealership. And he asked to take an extra hour or two for lunch, and we were slow. And I told him to go ahead. I said, what you got to do? He goes, I'll tell you when I get back. I got to go make some money. I was like, all right, tell me when you get back. He comes back and he says, yeah, I did great. I said, how'd you do? He goes, oh, I made $1,000. I said, you made $1,000 in an hour? How'd you do that? And he goes, well, I sell insurance too. So we're sitting in my office. I get up, I shut the door. I say, tell me what's going on. And he told me what was going on. He was working for Family First Life. If you go figure, he actually made money there. And so I said, well, I want in because I saw an opportunity not to do it part-time. That's not me. If I'm doing something, I'm not afraid. I'm jumping in and I'm doing it just like Boyd did. You quit your job, you jumped in both feet and you did it. And that's what I do. I'm not afraid. I'm not going to fail. I get that some people need to have that security blanket. I just happen to have confidence in my ability, as do you. You knew before you even left your job, Rob, that if he's doing it, I'm going to kill it. You knew it, right? And that's the kind of mentality you have to have is that FU mentality. I'm getting this done. Because I will tell you this, especially in sales, the nice guy finishes broke. Doesn't mean you have to be mean. You're going to be nice and sweet to your clients. You're going to be nice and sweet to each other. You're going to be the same person you are. The difference is that you're not going to just crumble when somebody says the first objection. You're not going to be worried that, oh, they might think I'm being a little pushy, or they might think I'm this or that. they're not thinking any of the things that you're thinking of. They're not thinking those things at all. So when you have the opportunity and somebody's interested in changing careers, you need to find out from their standpoint where they're at and what their goals are. Do they want to be in that same point? Are they successful? I'm telling you this right now. If they're successful in their business that they're in now and they're looking elsewhere, you got yourself a hammer. You got yourself somebody he's hungry or she's hungry and she's not afraid or he's not afraid. And so if they're coming in, they're probably looking they just need you to show them the growth potential and that they don't have a ceiling. That's really what you need to show them. I'm sorry I rambled on a little bit.
That's good stuff. Really good stuff. I think the fear of actually having that ceiling is what motivates a lot of those individuals, especially if they're already successful at what they're doing. That kind of lets them know that they're going to be successful in whatever endeavor they get involved in. So I think you hit the nail on the head, man. Is that fear of that ceiling on top of you of not being able to get past, say, 200,000, no matter how well you do. And so this is one of the few industries that you can legally do to go out and make $500,000 on your own pen the right way. So completely agree with what you're saying, man.
Yeah, you know what though? And I know a lot of the people on this call in particular, many of them are not looking to build, not yet, maybe down the road. And some are, Taiwan and Roderick, just for two of them right out of the gate are. And I'm sure there's others. TJ definitely looking to. But here's one thing I will say. My goal for the next 5 years is to make $100,000 a month. And you all might be like, you ain't gonna make that. You're crazy. You ain't gonna make that. I've seen people make that money in this industry, but they haven't made it just on their own pen. That they earn that money from building. Okay. And if you're talking about preparing yourself for your future and retirement, ultimately, building a team that will pay you for decades, and eventually will become its own entity and start growing. It becomes like mold and starts spreading everywhere. Okay. Eventually, that is going to create a tremendous amount of wealth. So just imagine what you can do making right now. I mean, a lot of you are like, wow, I'd love to make 10,000 a month. Then when you're there, you're like, oh, I got to make 15. Then when you're there, you want to make 20, 25. Then when you're there, you want to make 50. And then when you're there, you want to make 100, and you want to keep growing. First step, of course, is to get into 10,000, but you have to believe that you're going to be able to do it. And I will tell you this, and this comes from somebody who's been building for a long time. It's much easier to build here at RAL than it is anywhere else. I've done it elsewhere, and it's not easy. 2 different IMOs. First one, I was only there for a very short time, but bailed before I got too involved because I saw there was no training, no leadership, no leads. And that was enough for me, and I bailed. The second one had great training for me. They really did. They taught me a lot of what I know today. Not everything, but a lot of it. Okay. I'm glad I went there. I glad I started out there. It was perfect for me for the time I was there. But trying to build and hire a guy like Rob Boyd at 65%, he's going to leave. He was with us 6 months and he was out. And I couldn't blame him. I was appreciative that he even gave us a shot to keep him. But he bailed and he did what he needed to do so he can grow. Okay. But if it wasn't worth building and having a large team, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And if I had the opportunity that each and every one of you guys on this call have, and you have a leader between me, Boyd, Jan, Lester, whoever your leader is, if I had a leader like that when I was starting, I would probably be making 100 grand a month now, because I would have been, my development would have been accelerated tremendously. I would have been shotgunned. I would have never taken a $40,000 charge or roll-up debt, because they didn't even know about them. They didn't even know about roll-ups, the people that bought me in. And listen, I will say this, if they did, and they didn't teach me how to prevent them, then shame on them. Ultimately, like I said, it's my own fault, but shame on them for not preparing me for that, okay? And if you're a builder, the opportunity you have here with these 5 calls that we've done so far, getting to listen to the vice president of One Life, getting to listen to one of the top recruiters in the nation who works for One Life, getting to listen to Gary Keith, who is just tremendous by his own right, getting to listen to Rob Boyd, who again has just proven that he can bring in top studs regularly, it seems. And then listening to someone like Janet, who, listen, you guys aren't, a lot of you guys that are on this call right now are not here if it's not for her. For her saying, Rob, this person's good. Because they don't get to me unless they get through her. And that's just how our system works. So, you know, if you truly want to set yourself up for success, yes, your own production will give you your short-term wealth, but your long-term wealth is going to come from building. It just is. Now, you can make a great career just doing your own thing and being your own agent and never having the headaches or the stresses. But listen, man, I love stress. I perform better under pressure. I love stress. I don't like aggravation like I used to get elsewhere, but I don't have aggravation here. I have stress and I love it. I hunger for it. I do. And I find that it is so worth it. And it gives me the opportunity to make the kind of money that I could never make in any other industry. Could you imagine what 100,000 a month would do to change your life? Forget 10,000. Let's think far ahead. What would 100,000 a month do for you? It would be life-changing. It would be game-changing. You could focus on building your team. You could focus on going around different states, training your agents. Now, will that happen for us? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But it's my goal. And if I don't hit that goal, I'll miss, but I'll miss high. So if you have any kind of reservations, or if you're afraid to build, listen, that's common. That's normal. Okay. Being a little nervous. Just keep in mind, you're not doing it alone. And you could start building immediately. Put the agent under your upline and get the credit and get yourself some promotions. That's what you want to do. So I think I'm done.
I think I'll just say one thing. You know, a lot of people that are on here trying to build maybe now or in the future, that's great. But a lot of people on here that are just starting and wanting to learn how to just make money for the month to survive. I know that's very hard in the beginning to get that, but you guys all have a fire within you. Like I talked on my call last week, the eight tips to success, right? The fast track. And you guys all have that fire, and you have to remember your why, right? Why you came into this business. And fear, I think fear, which stands for false evidence that appears real. Like Rob is unique, and my husband, he's very different than maybe a lot of people on this call because he is a risk taker. I'm a risk taker. Rob Boyd is a risk taker. You know, you guys might be risk takers because you changed your careers and stuff, but you're not giving it your all. I know some of you on here that need to push yourselves a little bit more and get rid of that fear. What are you fearing? What are you fearing? You just have to follow the lead, follow our system, do what we say because it works. Don't worry about who's not at the door and who canceled the appointment and, what happened with their application. I don't care. You just keep moving on to the next person. Have
I'm
have
sorry, just real
organiz-
quick.
no,
If
yeah,
you're on this call
yeah.
and you're in the insurance industry and you're doing this full time, you're a risk taker.
right.
You're not full commission. Most people can't stop like that. I'm sorry, Jen, go ahead.
No, but it's fair. But what I'm saying is, if you feel like you're just stuck, or you're just starting, or you're circling, or you're in the business a year, and you feel like you're still in the same spot, and you're circling, you need to do something different. Just one little thing different. Apply something different to your day. Do something different. If, like Rob Boyd said before, if you're getting tired of final expense, like I change it up all the time. Final expense, you change it over to mortgage protection. If you're doing health, you change it over to health. And you just constantly feel like you're doing something different so you don't get burnt out. But always keep your final expense because that's your bread and butter.
Yeah, true words have never been spoken like that. Your final expense is going to be what pays your bills. 100%. So if you don't think that you're a risk taker, you are. If you're on this call and you're doing insurance full time, you are a risk taker. You're taking the risk. Go all in. Right, Rob? We say live all in, right?
Live all in, baby.
All in. You're all in or you're not in at all.
That's right.
So you're taking the risk anyway. Jump in and kickstart your career. Will help you. You all should be looking for talent. You don't have to have them direct to you and take the risk, but at least get the benefit of not the override, but the production and earn promotions. Get that extra 5%. It's right there for you.
If you're not working, people used to tell me, well, I'm so afraid of commission and all that stuff. That's why you can't stay home. You have to be out all day, every day, 5 days a week, 5.5 days a week. You cannot be sitting home making phone calls and just wasting time. Minutes pass, hours pass, days pass, and you're still in the same spot. You can't worry about what happened today because there's always tomorrow. But as long as you're productive in your day. Yesterday, I booked a senior home. I trained twice this week. I lost a lot of my own time because I'm training somebody else, but that's okay because it comes back. But I was able to teach that person what you do when you're out there. It's not just about selling. It's about helping. It's about connecting. It's about talking to people you would never dream of talking to. Stepping out of the box, thinking out of the box, walking into an apartment. I had the agent tell me yesterday, oh, you're going to do a senior home in a complex? I thought you just do senior centers. I'm like, no, I do senior centers, a complexes, bingo halls, churches. I don't care what it is, as long as it's a group of people, right? So I walked in and boom, I made the appointment right there. It was so easy. Now, it's not always that easy, but if I didn't walk in there and I just got in my car and left, I just lost out. So you guys might be losing a lot of money if you're not doing your connect and listen to the little things that we tell you daily. Keep your business cards in your back pocket when you're getting gas at the gas station. If you see a nicer older lady looking at you, you have your badge on, tell her what you do and give her your card. I have magnets on my door, on my car. People looking at my car, and then I kind of talk to them because they're looking at the magnet. These are all connections to what we do to help people. Okay, all right, I'm done, Rob. I'm sorry.
Great point. So guys, just real quick, before we start winding down this call, let's get some questions on building, and then we'll go ahead and wrap her up. So any other questions for Rob or myself on building, or is there anything you need help with in particular? So ask away. You can just unmute and ask. It's all good. If you don't, pop it in the chat and we'll answer it that way. Anybody? If you have even questions about the previous 4 calls, that's fine too. So, but if not, we'll wrap it up. Rob Boyd, do you have anything to add, Rob?
No, I
What were
just,
the
go ahead.
4 calls? I wasn't on those ones. This is TJ.
What's up, brother?
Hey, TJ, what was the question, man?
I said, what were the topics of the last 4 calls?
It was mostly about how do you know when you're ready to build, and tips on recruiting, just basically things like that. Matter of fact, it was a lot of information. So let me just look back real quick and I could tell you a quick synopsis of it.
You still have the recordings, Appel?
I do. I have well, I don't have, could you believe I don't have Eric Salazar's recording? I can't find it. But yeah, who should build, how to find quality recruits, what a new builder should look for in new recruits as far as traits go, expectations for recruits. Miles, who is one of the top recruiters in the nation, in my opinion, looking for what qualities to look for in agents. Jan went over some of the questions that she asks when she's interviewing potential agents. That was call 3. Gary Keith had touched on organic recruiting, using agents that are already in your network to find out who else may be a good fit for us. And then of course tonight with Rob, we kind of ran around the whole damn tree and touched base on everything, which is pretty awesome. I'll tell you something, out of the 5 calls, including this one, I think this one was the best one so far. Next week, we're hoping that we have another stellar call. I'm not going to tell you who we're trying to get, but this person's a big deal. I'm telling you that right now. So, Boyd, if you have nothing else to add, we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I just want to thank everybody for jumping. It's 9:05 right now. So it is late. We got freaking 19 people that stayed on the whole way. So again, thank you guys for your commitment. We see you. We see you. We're going to build. You guys are our foundation. So I promise you, we see you. You will be rewarded. Stay faithful, stay committed, stay loyal, and go out there and keep doing what you do best. So again, thank you guys so much. It is 9:06 right now.
Yeah, guys, listen, again, just feeding off that. Thank you. Really appreciate you jumping on with us. We're going to see you next week, next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time for the last of the 6-part series. Make sure you're on that call. Okay, it's going to be something good. I promise you. All right. Love you guys. Have a great wrap up to the week, and we shall see you next time.
Thank you all.